Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating moment in Indian history. It was a time when an entire society was facing a deep spiritual crisis. We're going to break down how one philosopher came up with ideas that managed to unite the cold, hard logic of the mind with the deep personal needs of the heart. You know, in 11th century India, this wasn't just some abstract, theoretical question. It was a real societal crisis, one that had been building for centuries. It led to this widespread spiritual confusion where pretty much everyone was searching for answers. So let's just try to picture this for a second. Imagine you're living in a society that's incredibly spiritual. I mean, big questions about the soul, about God, about the meaning of existence, these are part of everyday conversation. But you're caught between these two powerful, compelling, and totally contradictory paths to the truth. And what's really striking about this quote is just how absolute it is. This wasn't some minor disagreement happening in scholarly circles. No, this was a fundamental crisis of faith and reason that was affecting everyone. It left people feeling completely adrift about the most important things in their lives. So you have to ask, how on earth did things get so confusing? Well, the answer is in this long, intense history of intellectual and spiritual debate. Let's take a look at how this whole thing unfolded. Okay, so you can see this constant push and pull here. For ages, the Vedas were the undisputed spiritual authority. Then, Buddhist philosophy comes along and uses this razor-sharp logic to challenge that authority. In response, you get this absolutely brilliant philosopher, Shankaracharya, who rises up to defend the Vedic path. And his genius move was to use logic that was just as powerful, maybe even more so, to reestablish the Vedas. He totally won the intellectual battle. But, and this is a huge but, his solution, while it was logically perfect, left a lot of people feeling emotionally and spiritually, well, empty. And this confusion wasn't just some vague feeling of unease. Oh no, it was centered on three of life's biggest, most fundamental questions. And the answer is that the dominant philosophy was offering, well, they just didn't feel complete to the average person. So first up, let's tackle the question of the self, the Jivatma. Basically, who or what are we really? So, the Jivatma, that's the I that each of us feels, right? It's our own personal consciousness, the thing that's experiencing the world with all its unique ups and downs, its joys and its sorrows. Okay, so here's the key point. Shankaracharya used this really powerful analogy. He said the one supreme soul is like the sun, and all of our individual souls were just reflections of that sun in thousands of different pots of water. Logically, it's a beautiful idea, but for regular people, it just didn't add up. It failed to explain that very real, very personal feeling of suffering and joy. I mean, if it's all just a reflection, why does my pain feel so intensely real to me?
All right, so next, the debate zeroed in on the nature of the ultimate reality, the supreme soul, which is known as Paramatma.
The Paramatma is the big one, the concept of the divine, the source of, well, everything. But here's the question that was at the absolute heart of the debate. Was this ultimate reality a personal God you could actually pray to, or was it something else entirely? Shankaracharya's philosophy argued that the ultimate reality was pure consciousness, formless, without any qualities, just a complete abstraction. And this just perfectly illustrates the problem, doesn't it? While it was logically elegant, it created this massive practical barrier for spiritual seekers. I mean, how are you supposed to meditate on or pray to or feel any kind of connection with something that has no form, no personality? It just felt cold and totally inaccessible. And so, finally, all of this led to some deep confusion about the ultimate goal of the spiritual path itself, moksha, or liberation. Moksha is the end game, right? It's the state that everyone was striving for. Ultimate freedom, the end of all suffering, a state of just profound peace. This was the really troubling implication that just logically followed from the other ideas. Think about it, if your soul is just a temporary reflection, does that mean the final goal of all your spiritual effort, all your prayers, all your good deeds is to simply vanish, to have your individual identity completely dissolve back into the source? It raised these huge questions about what the point of the whole journey was in the first place. So into this intense spiritual crisis, this philosophical mess, steps a philosopher named Ramanuja. He saw the huge disconnect between the cold logic of the dominant philosophy and the warm devotional needs of the people, and he set out to fix it, to resolve these deep contradictions. And this, right here, was his unique genius.
His goal wasn't just to win a philosophical argument. It was to create a complete system that was not only logically sound and intellectually satisfying, but one that was also emotionally and spiritually fulfilling for everybody.
So to solve this, Ramanuja comes up with these powerful new analogies. He argues the individual soul isn't some temporary reflection. No, it's a real, eternal part of the divine, kind of like a spark from a great fire. It's distinct, it's individual, but it shares the same essential nature as the source. And God? Not a formless abstraction. Instead, a supreme being who is full of infinite, wonderful qualities like love and compassion, someone you could actually build a relationship with. Now, to make this new, unified philosophy accessible to everyone, Ramanuja didn't just offer these big new ideas. He actually distilled the vast, complex Vedic literature into a simple, powerful, and really practical framework. He called this the Artha Panchaka, or the 5 Great Truths, and it's a direct answer to the whole crisis. Step 1, understand yourself as a real, individual soul, not a temporary reflection. Step 2, understand your goal as a supreme being full of compassion, not a formless abstract. Step 3 lays out the path to connect you to that goal. And Step 4 clarifies the result. Liberation isn't about vanishing. It's about reaching a state of eternal, joyful connection. It's really a timeless map for living a life with purpose.
And you really can't overstate how monumental this was. He didn't just propose a new philosophy. He provided a coherent, compassionate worldview that finally brought the head and the heart together. He gave people a way to understand their own existence that actually made sense logically and felt true emotionally.
And that kind of leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? In our own age of just endless information and conflicting opinions, Ramanuja's challenge feels incredibly relevant. How do we, today, build a worldview that is both intellectually honest and personally meaningful? It's the timeless quest for a truth that satisfies both the head and the heart. Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.